lot of voice acting. I've done directing for voice acting and writing for Funimation. I've been a comic book artist before I was a voice actor. I was published as a comic book artist. The things I'm known for in comics mostly are my work on ElfQuest and my own series, We Shadows, that was published by Tokyo Pop, and now I have the rights back and I'm publishing it myself. Yeah, the main roles I think hit Krillin, Usopp, Lupin III, Kyuzo from Samurai 7. I was the original Toonami Tom for Cartoon Network. So, okay.
1 second, this gentleman.
I know.
Oh my God!
Oh, I'm in a band too.
No, big deal. It's okay.
When he finds the time, he takes a breath. So we'll open it up to questions. Who'd like to go first?
Yes.
Hi. So in One Piece recently, they released this set with Soge King.
Yes.
So my question for you is, how is it to go playing a character who's playing another character, and how do you approach that rather than just a character in general?
Well, you got to see where he's coming from, you know, and he, I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but Usopp gets broken pretty badly, and it's actually one of the most dramatic scenes I think I've ever played. Who would have thought? Because this Usopp, you guys know who Usopp is, right? He looks like a clown, and he's definitely the comic relief for most of the show. And then all of a sudden, there's this huge story arc where it is dramatic, and he is crying, and he's angry and humiliated at the same time. And this is the first time this has ever happened to me, but I was recording, and he's crying on screen, and I'm actually crying as I do the lines. But yeah, I know that never happened. Usopp, right? But it's suddenly this character became my favorite character, because before it was just a fun character, and now I'm like putting it above all others. If you can make me cry while I'm recording this, you can actually make me feel your pain, then this is pretty good. But so yeah, he went through this pain, and the guy who beats him down wears a mask, right? And so I'm going, oh well, that makes sense, like in a comic book sense, right? Because he's going to become the thing that beat him. So, except in a good way. It's like, I'm going to do the exact opposite. It's very Batman Joker, right? So, it was pretty easy for me to relate because I'm a comic book geek first and foremost. Yeah.
I noticed that a lot of your characters die.
Yes. That's in my contract.
Yeah. Personally, how do you feel when they die? Do you have an attachment to where you're like, well, this was great, too bad it had to end?
Well, generally I feel unemployed. It's a terrible feeling. Yeah, a lot of my characters do die. Interestingly enough, the one that doesn't die is Usopp. You would think that he would die from all the damage he has taken. Because Krillin is obviously like Superman compared to Usopp. Krillin has died 4 times. Krillin's problem is that he hangs out with the wrong crowd, you know? He hangs out with gods. He's a superhuman hanging out with gods. Of course you're going to be outclassed. He needs to do like Gohan and go off into some city and get a superhero costume and just leave that outer space stuff alone, you know? Take care of the city like Batman. Yes. But I love doing death scenes, though. I mean, as actors, we like to do that kind of stuff. That's one of our favorite things to do, is to do a death scene. But there is that part where you know you're going to be unemployed. Well, like Maes Hughes, his death still gets that reaction, and that's worth it. to hear that, how many years later, every time I say Maes Hughes' death, people go, oh my God, no. Great career move for Maes, though, because I think a lot of people liked him as a character, but when he died, people said, they killed my favorite character! I was like, come on, he wasn't your favorite character. Ed was your favorite character. No, Ed was Maes. No. I think you just think that it's pity is what you're thinking. Well, he's dead, let's move on.
Baby talk is endearing.
Yeah, that's true. But like Vic Mignogna, I didn't meet him until like 2 years after we'd done the series, or started the series. I was at a convention and I saw all these little girls around him. I said, who is that guy that those little girls are clamoring about? And said, oh, you don't know, he's on the show. He's the star of the show you're on. I went, that's the little kid? Wow. Very impressed. Very impressive. Yeah.
So with that, with the band and everything else, what kind of music are you singing right now?
Right now, I would say it's very Gorillaz, 9 Inch Nails-ish. if you go to whitegirlstudios.com, my band's called White Girl, and you can hear some of our latest. Do you know Black Butler? I play Drossel on Black Butler, who sings that creepy London Bridge song. So I decided that my band should do a creepy London Bridge song, so we actually cover and it's cool because we've actually played a few conventions, you know, so I'm trying to give more and more fan service to the music that we do. We also, because, you know, I sing Dragon Soul, I think, on Disc 5 for the Dragon Ball Z Kai show. So we sing Dragon Ball live, and I'll be adding these Sniper King, Sobi King songs soon, so to our repertoire. Yes?
Just a follow-up to that statement. When you do perform the Sniper King song, that needs to be on YouTube.
It is. It's on YouTube. Right? Yeah.
All right.
Look up Funimation, Sniper King. It might be Sobi King. But they decided, the Japanese decided this for us. We actually did 2 versions, but they decided we're going to go with Sniper King because it is the direct translation of Sogi. But I was I had mixed feelings about it because I knew about it. You know, I'd read the manga even before that, so I'm like, okay. Everybody knows it's Sogi King at conventions, but it's on television now, so most of these people have no clue what that is. You've got to make sure they understand. You know, luckily, it's not in a time slot where we have to edit it anymore. You know, because like 4 Kids had it in that time slot, and they had to edit it down to for 6-year-old level. That's which we had to do with Kai too. Have you seen Dragon Ball Z Kai?
Yes.
Now, have you seen it on DVD? See, that's the thing. If you say unfortunately, I know you just saw it on TV because it was edited for kids. The DVD is unedited, and I think it's superior to the first series. But we had, I mean, like some of the lines to make it work on TV, we had to really butcher this. I mean, there was a scene where Gohan sees all these slaughtered Namekians, and he's like, oh, the line is, "Oh my God, they killed them all," right? But you can't say God, you can't say kill in Y7. So it got whittled down to, oh no, they made them go to sleep. Or why won't they wake up? It's like, come on, you know? But for a 7-year-old, you know, nap time is scary. So. But yeah, so I recommend if you really want to see the best Dragon Ball Z ever, get Kai Uncut on DVD. It is so much fun.
How'd you get involved in voice acting in the first place?
Well, I did a lot of theater. I was a theater major in college. I actually dropped out of college because I got published with a 10-page comic book story. And I said, oh, forget this, I'm going to do comics. And I did that for like 10 years. And then I started really getting that acting bug, and so I started doing theater in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Well, Funimation moved to Dallas with Dragon Ball Z and had open auditions for Dragon Ball Z. They had originally had the first season recorded by Ocean Group, and so what they were looking for was mimics. They were, you know, not so much people who create characters, but mimics, because they wanted us, and they only had one product, they wanted us to sound like the Ocean Group cast. See, I can't do it this early in the morning, but the original Krillin sounded something like this. You know, hey Goku, wait up, you guys! Yeah. Since I could mock Terry Clausen pretty good, I got the part. But then, like the first weekend, now we recorded in Texas, so at the time, our director Barry Watson, good old boy, the Texas accent, he said, you know, it sounds just like Terry Clausen. I went, oh, thanks, man. He goes, but I hate that voice. I always hated that voice, man. Can you do something else? And I'm like, what do you want? And he goes, well, you know, Krillin's a midget, but he's the world's strongest human being. And I went, so you want like a tough midget? And he goes, yeah. Well, Popeye the Sailor has always been my favorite character from any genre. So I thought, this is my chance to play Popeye. I said, how about like Popeye on helium? And he goes, well, what does that sound like? I went, I don't know, come on guys, let's go, let's do it! And he went, yeah, use that. So I was actually the first voice actor at Funimation who got to do whatever the heck I wanted to do with the characters, you know. But as you could listen, by season 2, the other voice actors kind of caught on and went, why do I have to sound like this old guy? I'm going to just make it sound like my own. And they evolved into what they became eventually. And, but at the time, you know, Krillin dies a lot, right? So it was still a part-time job for me. I was still working as a commercial artist on the side. And then Cartoon Network had auditions for this character, Toonami Tom. And they went through all of the studios that they worked with. and picked out people they thought would be an interesting choice for it. And they asked me to audition for it. And when I got the role of Toonami Tom, I realized I kind of stumbled onto a career. So that's basically how I got into it. If you're seeing the character do something on the screen, know that I'm doing it in the booth. Every little, even if it's just their hand on their hips like this, I'll stand with my hand like this and do exactly what they're doing. Because for me, that just helps me let go of who I am more and just let that character on the screen, you know, possess me. And I have punched microphones more than once. Yeah. Back in the old days, our engineers used to have headphones on, right? And one time I was like, just bow, 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 and then I hear boo, like that, and then the guys go, oh my god! They don't wear headphones anymore for some reason. I certainly haven't changed. Yeah.
So what do you do to get you guys record like 10 long-hour days and everything? What do you do to warm your voice up, and what do you do to keep your voice in shape?
Oh, my voice is out of shape. You know what kills my voice more than anything though is conventions, because you don't realize that the decibel levels in the dealer's room, because especially when I work at a table, are so loud, right? Until you like try to answer the phone or something, you're like, well, I can't hear anything. And so you're talking much louder than you should. But luckily I was in theater and I was in choir and I learned a lot of vocal warm-ups, and I do those. But there are certain characters like Usopp that I cannot do more than 3 hours. You know, he for some reason screams everything he says. And that's one of the shows that we try to stick as close to the Japanese as possible. You know, I mean, you remember 4 Kids had One Piece originally, and 4 Kids was kind of going in the same direction that we had to do with Kai. You know, they were trying to, you know, Y7 it, you know, bring it down to a kid level, and it went nowhere that way. And the Japanese said, okay, we're going to recast this with another company, and Funimation picked it up. But they told Funimation, we want you to audition and get the top 5 actors for each role, and then send those recordings to us. And then Oda, the creator of One Piece, and his company, they all sat down and listened to these people, us, and decided who would get cast. So that's the one role where if you say you don't like the way I do it, I say I don't care, because the creator of the series hears that in his head, you know. So we try to stick very, very close. But yeah, I have some vocal warm-ups that I do that I learned in choir and theater, so, and they help. But still, I can't do more than 3 hours. Yeah.
In comparison to all the movies and specials you guys were dubbing 10 years ago, what are your thoughts on the new Lupin series?
Oh god, that is awesome. The new Lupin, a woman called Fujiko Mine. I love that. It's the closest thing I've ever seen to an animated version of Monkey Punch's comics. And it's like, well, it's been 40 years, let's try to draw it like he draws it. You know? Yeah. And it is really, really good. And it was such a blast to get back into his shoes again, you know. It had been, like, I think, 10 years since I played Lupin, so it was wonderful to be able to play him again.
Is it difficult? I mean, you've had to get back in Krillin's shoes before, now you had to get back into Lupin's.
Krillin shoes are easier to get in because every convention I go to, somebody asks me to speak like Krillin. So I never really left Krillin, but I get very few requests to do Lupin. But, and it was difficult. We actually recorded the first couple of episodes, and I wasn't directing this time, but this is one of those times when I still consider it my baby. And I would never say this to a director, but I said, can I review that and watch this? And she said, yeah, it was Brina actually. And so Brina and I sat down and watched it, and I went, none of that's going to work. That doesn't sound like Lupin. She goes, really? I said, no. So we went and re-recorded the first 2 until I got back into that Lupin groove. So yeah, it took some effort getting back there. But as soon as I started doing, like, you know, and after I did an episode, I went, oh yeah, I know who this guy is. I remember. But it's also a different Lupin, you know. This is a darker show, and all the characters are darker than they used to be. As a matter of fact, some of the actors we originally used, we had to recast because they just didn't find that dark edge.
We've got time for one last question.
Okay. Yeah.
Who's been your favorite character so far out of all of them?
Well, Usopp is definitely on the top of the list lately. Lupin is one of my favorites. Maes Hughes, and of course Krillin. I love Krillin. I grew up with him in the industry. You know, I was very green when I started out, and I got to watch myself improve through this little bald guy who eventually got hair. Well, thank you guys so much for having me. This was a blast. Thank you guys so much.